Alright, brace yourself, cause this is gonna be a wild ride. Grab some popcorn, sit back, and enjoy how I met my husband, and trust me, it wasn't your typical rom-com meet cute. So, picture this, it's one of those classic summer nights where the air's a little too warm, but everyone's out just to enjoy the night and have fun. Me and my girlfriends are doing our usual thing, wandering around downtown like we own the place, laughing like we're in some sitcom, and sipping on whatever we manage to sneak past the bouncer at the club. You know, the usual. A little wine, a little gossip, and a whole lot of spontaneous decisions. And then, nature calls. Not in the, oh, I have to pee, kinda way, but in the, I really gotta go, and it's gonna be bad, kinda way. I was suddenly hit with the urgent need to drop a deuce. Yeah. You read that right. The kind of I can't hold this any longer situation. My stomach was like, we're doing this, lady, whether you're ready or not. And let me tell you, when you're out in public, trying to be chill and cute, but your gut is like a ticking time bomb, the struggle is real. So here's the thing, we're walking around a park, right? And I start looking around like a raccoon scoping out a trash can for food, trying to find a bathroom. But, plot twist, there are no bathrooms in sight. I'm not talking about a little walk down the block type of deal, I'm talking about no public toilets in the entire park. It's like a cruel joke from the universe. And my stomach. Oh, it's not laughing. It's like, you better figure this out, girl. I quickly glanced around, and boom, there it was. A tree. I swear to you, that tree looked like the answer to all my prayers. It was big enough to shield me from the world, and in my slightly tipsy, desperate state, I thought, this is it. This is where my dignity goes to die, but it's gonna be worth it. I sneaked behind the tree, and let me tell you, everything felt like it was going according to plan. I was like a ninja in the night, crouching behind that tree like I was on a secret mission, thinking no one could see me. I mean, it's dark, I'm hidden, I'm gonna be fine, right? Wrong. Out of nowhere, this dude and his dog strolled by. And not just any guy, oh no, of course not. This guy looks like he walked straight out of a hot guy walking his dog commercial. You know the type. Perfect hair, cool sneakers, probably some expensive brand of coffee in hand. And to make matters worse, the dog. The dog is absolutely loving life, sprinting straight toward the tree where I'm, well, occupied. I'm frozen. Like, I can't even describe the panic that hits me. It's like I got hit by a lightning bolt of, oh my god, he's going to see everything. And here's the kicker, the dude doesn't even notice right away. He's just casually walking, totally oblivious, but his dog? That dog? It's got zero chill. It's darting around me like it's trying to join a circus. And I'm still crouching there, in the most awkward, exposed position ever. And then, I hear it. His voice. Oh, hey. Didn't realize you were, busy. And then, like a miracle, he just keeps walking, like it's no big deal. He doesn't laugh, doesn't make any weird comments. It's like he was so confused that he just decided to pretend it wasn't happening. But I swear, that moment felt like the longest 10 seconds of my life. I'm standing there, red as a tomato, practically praying that the ground will just swallow me up. And here's where it gets real interesting. In my panic, I somehow decide, hey, what's the best way to get out of this situation? Oh, I know, chase him down and give him my phone number. Yeah. That's right. I ran after him. In the middle of this awkward, embarrassing situation, I decide to make my move. I catch up to him, out of breath, and say, so, about what just happened, clearly not the best first impression, right? But, I can make it up to you. How about I give you my number and we pretend like that didn't just happen? And this guy. He looks at me, clearly trying to hold in his laughter, and just says, wow, you've really got guts. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, literally. We both crack up, and somehow, in that totally ridiculous moment, we exchange numbers. He even said, you know, I've seen a lot of weird stuff walking my dog, but that was something else. I couldn't believe it. We ended up texting, hanging out, and a couple of weeks later, we were officially seeing each other. That night became our running joke. Every time we went out, he'd ask, so, do you need to go find another tree? And I'd just turn bright red and laugh. For years later, we were married, and I'm still telling that story to everyone who'll listen. It's funny how life works, right? If it wasn't for that tree, that dog, and the most awkward situation in the history of my life, who knows where we'd be. But here we are, laughing about it every time we tell the story. And trust me, we never let anyone forget how we met.
The secret of my first true love. I never could have predicted that my life would turn out the way it did. Everything was normal: school, friends, funny gossip during breaks, and evenings spent with Kate, my best friend. We were inseparable from childhood, and I thought I knew everything about her. She was bright, outgoing, and never hid anything from me, and I was the same. But there was one secret I kept to myself, like a sinister shadow that never went away. He was 2 years older than me, and I always thought of him as just my best friend's brother. But with every passing year, with every glance, he became something more. Not just a brother, not just a friend. With every day, I realized more and more that I was falling in love. And that love, strange and forbidden, was far deeper than I could have imagined. At first, it was all very innocent. I remember, when I was about 14, sitting on the carpet in Kate's room, I caught myself looking at his photo on the wall a little longer than the others. I remember the first time I noticed his smile when he casually walked into the room, not paying attention to us, and sat down at the table. There was something in his calmness, in the way he just existed. Everything seemed to submit to his will. Kate and I hung out at her house often, and her brother was usually around. But he never joined our conversations, staying in his own world. I remember how one day, Kate and I were talking about our dreams for the future, laughing, and at that moment, he walked into the room, like he had stepped out of some other world. His gaze met mine, and I felt everything inside me freeze. I became uncomfortable and quickly tried to distract myself with something else, but the feeling of that look stayed with me. It was something more than just a coincidence. Something I couldn't explain to myself. With every passing day, I noticed more and more details. He was always reading something, and it was fascinating to watch. He listened to music, and his playlist was so different from everyone else's that, without shame, I started eavesdropping on what he was playing. He often read books that I had never heard of. His taste in music was equally unique, melancholic melodies that instantly made my heart beat faster. I found myself more and more drawn into his world, which seemed impenetrable to everyone except me. I never understood what was happening to me. Kate and I talked about love, about our crushes, but I never mentioned him. I was scared. Too many things weren't right. He was older, my best friend's brother, and I was just her best friend, no different from anyone else. But the more I tried to push him out of my mind, the more I fell for him. Every word he said seemed important. Every movement, significant. One night, after a party at Kate's house, I stayed behind with him in the kitchen. We had a cup of tea, and the conversation turned to something more personal. He told me about his plans for the future, and at that moment, I suddenly realized that I had never heard him so open. In that moment, something clicked inside me. His eyes, the way he spoke, his quiet laughter, all of it became so important that I couldn't hold back anymore. "You're always so calm," I said, feeling my voice tremble. He looked at me with a smile, raising an eyebrow. "Aren't you?" he replied, winking. I felt my face flush and quickly turned away, trying to hide my embarrassment. But I still couldn't avoid his gaze. It was the moment I realized that everything I had tried to hide no longer mattered. This secret was becoming part of me, part of my world. I couldn't hide from it anymore. With each passing day, my feelings grew stronger. But I knew I could never tell Kate. She wouldn't understand. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't bring myself to destroy the fragile reality we had built over the years. I couldn't cross that invisible line that separated us. This secret was too painful to share with anyone. Time passed, I went to high school, started dating other guys, but he still stayed in my memory, in my heart, hidden from everyone. No matter how much I tried to move on, that attachment, that love for Kate's brother stayed with me, like a secret I could never reveal. Sometimes, sitting in a chair in the living room, I catch myself thinking about those times. What if I had told her? What if she had found out? But in that moment, I realize that it's better this way. This secret will stay with me, like part of my story that I will never be ready to share. And maybe that's exactly what makes it so important to me.
Alright, listen up. First things first, I'm not a thief, and I've never been one. I've always been the type of guy who pays for stuff, even if it hurts the wallet. I've got my principles, and I stick to them. But, this story, man, it kinda just happened. I still don't know how I ended up in this mess. So, it all started like any other day. I was in the mall, just casually walking around, thinking about buying myself some new headphones. I already had a decent pair, but you know how it is, I always feel like I need something better, something cooler, and, of course, it's gotta be a brand. I walked into this electronics store, and right off the bat, I knew it was the place to find something good. I'm walking around, checking out the displays, seeing all these new models, the expensive Apple headphones, and all that jazz. The prices were sky high, and I'm thinking, no way I'm dropping that kind of cash. I wasn't there to buy anything, just browsing. I'm not that type of guy, you know? But then, I spotted them. The original Apple headphones. You know, the first model they ever released, the ones that came out years ago. They were black with that silver logo, a little dusty, but still looking good. For some reason, they caught my attention. I wasn't planning on buying them, but I thought, hell, why not check them out? I started walking around the store, but I couldn't get those headphones out of my head. It's like I couldn't shake the thought of how cool they'd look on me. But here's the thing, I wasn't thinking of stealing them. Not at all. But suddenly, I felt this weird urge. Like, I could totally do this. And the weirdest part? I felt like no one would notice. I started thinking, well, why not? Just try it. So, I grabbed the box with the headphones, opened it up without even really thinking about it. I just slid the lid off, nice and easy. Everything was perfect. The box was undamaged, and the headphones inside looked pretty much brand new. It's like I was in a trance. Like I couldn't stop myself. I knew it was wrong, but I was just, I don't know, in the moment, feeling like no one would catch me. I pulled the headphones out of the box, held them in my hands, and they felt so light, so perfect. I couldn't believe I was holding them. My heart was racing, but at the same time, I felt a weird kind of calm. I looked around to make sure no one was watching. The store wasn't crowded, but there were a few people around. I slowly placed the box back on the shelf where it was, making sure everything looked exactly the same. Then I just walked towards the exit, trying to look normal, acting like I had every right to be there. I'm walking to the exit, and at first, everything felt fine. But as I got closer to the door, I started to feel this weird pressure building up. Like, what the hell am I doing? I looked over at the security guard by the exit. He was chatting with some guy, not paying attention to me. My palms were sweaty, and my stomach was doing flips. I was about to freak out, but I kept walking, telling myself, just don't make eye contact. Don't act nervous. I stepped outside, and for a second, everything felt weirdly normal. The air was fresh, but my heart was pounding like crazy. I stopped for a second, looked down at the headphones in my hands, and it hit me, I had just stolen them. Like, I was really holding stolen property. That's when it all sank in. What the hell did I just do? I kept walking, trying to act cool, but inside, I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do next. Should I just keep them? Should I go back and return them? I wasn't sure, but I knew I couldn't just leave things like this. I'd been in a similar situation before, but this time felt different. It felt too real. The next day, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to return them. So, I went back to that same mall, to that same store. I walked in, found the exact spot where I'd grabbed the headphones, and carefully placed them back on the shelf, just the way they were. I felt like a total idiot, but I was also relieved. Like a weight had been lifted. And you know what? I learned my lesson. I'm never doing something like that again. I don't know what got into me, but I'm not that guy. I'm not a thief, and I never will be. Sometimes, when you're in the moment, you do stupid stuff, but you've got to own up to it. I guess I'm just lucky no one noticed. But I don't plan on testing my luck again.
Alright, so this happened a while ago, and I still remember every little detail like it was yesterday. It's me and my older sister, Liza. We were always like night and day, you know? I was the younger one, 3 years younger, and like all younger siblings, I was always jealous of her. She was the older one, always getting compliments, always getting new stuff, and I was stuck with her old hand-me-downs. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was her piggy bank. You have no idea how many hours I spent just staring at that stupid thing. It was huge, shaped like an old safe, with a lock on it that seemed like some kind of secret mechanism. She'd always leave it on the top shelf of her closet, and every time I walked by it, I swear it felt like this forbidden treasure. She kept money in there, like hundreds of dollars that she'd saved up over who knows how long. We had this unspoken rule: I never messed with her stuff, and she never messed with mine. But she was always out doing something, with her friends, at practice, you name it. And I was stuck at home, bored out of my mind, and every time I passed by her room, I couldn't help but fixate on that damn piggy bank. So, one day, it all just came to a head. It was one of those long, boring summer days when Liza was out with her friends again. I knew she didn't have the key to her piggy bank, only she knew how to open it. But I was smart. I didn't act right away. I thought about it, planned it out, and honestly, I felt kinda guilty just thinking about it. But the temptation was too strong. I wasn't gonna take all of it, just a few bills. I figured she wouldn't even notice. So, one day, I just couldn't resist anymore. I grabbed a pair of tweezers from her vanity, the ones she used for her nails, and sneaked into her room. Her door was usually open, and I knew if she came home, I'd have just a few minutes, so I had to move quick. Her closet was in the corner, and the piggy bank was sitting on that top shelf like it always was. I grabbed the tweezers and shut the door quietly behind me. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I kept telling myself, just get in, take the cash, and get out. She'll never know. I wasn't trying to be stupid, but I was already way too deep in it. I slowly started working on the lock. At first, I couldn't get the damn thing open, and I was freaking out, thinking I was gonna get caught. But then, I felt it. The lock gave way with a soft click. I could hardly believe it. The lid popped open, and there they were, the bills. I don't even know what came over me. They looked so perfect, so fresh, like some kind of secret stash. I felt like I hit the jackpot. I grabbed a couple of bills, slid them into my pocket, and carefully closed the piggy bank. I made sure everything looked exactly the way it had before. I was being so careful, trying not to leave any trace that I had been in there. I took one last look at the room to make sure nothing was off, and then I left. But, of course, that wasn't the end of it. A few hours later, I heard footsteps in the hall. Liza was back. I froze. I was sitting in my room, staring at the money I'd just taken, and suddenly I heard her walk down the hall and stop at her room. My heart skipped a beat. I swear, I felt like I was gonna die right there. She walked into her room, and I saw her stop, glance at the piggy bank, and look around. I was holding my breath, hoping she wouldn't come in. But then she turned around and walked back out. My pulse was racing. I thought for sure she'd figured it out, but somehow, she didn't. She didn't even open the piggy bank. She just walked past it like nothing was wrong. My stomach was in knots, but somehow, I made it through. I stayed as still as I could, hoping to God she didn't get suspicious. And after that, I didn't take anything again. I couldn't. Every time she came home, I felt like I was sitting on a ticking bomb, waiting to get caught. I remember that night, just feeling so guilty. I wasn't proud of what I'd done, not at all. I wasn't even happy about it. It was just something that happened, and I'd learned my lesson the hard way. Now, when I look back on it, I feel kinda dumb. I mean, how close was I to getting caught? But I guess I got lucky, or maybe she was just too distracted. Either way, I never pulled something like that again. It wasn't worth it.
One day, after work, I decided to take a walk. It was evening, not too late, but already starting to get dark. I was walking down my usual street, passing the park, then the stores, where there's always a crowd. I stopped in one of the shops to look at the window display, and when I turned to walk away, I felt someone brush past me quickly. I didn't think anything of it, just some random person on the street. I never paid attention to strangers in this neighborhood, especially if they were just passing by. But then, out of nowhere, I felt something wet and sticky hit my face, and, honestly, I didn't even realize what was happening at first. I stood there, frozen, not understanding the sensation. And then it hit me. He spit in my face. Right in my face, like I was nothing, like I didn't matter. I couldn't believe it was happening. He was a complete stranger, a black man in a worn leather jacket. He just stood there for a second, then turned around and walked away. I don't think I understood what had just happened at first. I stood there for a few seconds, confused. I couldn't figure out why this was happening to me. I've heard stories like this, right? You hear about people getting spat on, yelled at, humiliated. But you never think it's going to happen to you, not in the city, not when you're just minding your own business. I stood there for what felt like an eternity. The disgusting feeling of his spit on my face started to sink in, and I could feel it slowly running down my cheek. I don't know why, but I didn't cry, didn't scream. I was just numb. I felt so violated. And, I felt dirty. Like something inside me had been ruined. But what was even more surprising was how quickly I snapped back. I didn't collapse, I didn't scream. I just stood there, feeling this break inside me, like my walls had been shattered. I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't feel scared in that moment. I just felt disgusted. It was the kind of disgust that sticks with you, that makes your skin crawl. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't understand why this had happened. But then, I realized something. I didn't need to understand it. I needed to just clean myself off. So, I walked into the nearest store with makeup, like nothing had happened. I went straight to the mirror and started wiping my face, trying to get rid of that filth. And honestly, I felt like I was going to break down right there, but I couldn't let myself. I just focused on wiping it off, pretending like I was in control of the situation, like it didn't affect me. The saleswoman looked at me like she wanted to ask if I was okay, but I just told her I had an allergy and walked to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I don't know why, but I stared at my reflection, thinking, why? Why me? I didn't have any answers. Why did he choose me? Why did he want to degrade me like that? Or was I just some random victim? I had all these questions, but no answers. And then, when I left the store, I realized I didn't feel ashamed anymore. I felt something different. It wasn't anger, but more like resolve. Like, no matter what, I wasn't going to let this define me. I wasn't going to let someone take my dignity away just because they decided to lash out. I walked down the street, almost like nothing had happened. Maybe it was my way of telling myself that it didn't hurt me, that I was fine. Yeah, it was disgusting, but in the end, it was his action, not mine. And that's how I live with it.
Alright, let me tell you how I met my wife. This was so weird and unusual that whenever I tell the story to my friends, they think I'm messing with them. But seriously, this actually happened. It was a couple of years ago. At the time, I was kind of in a rough patch. I just broken up with my girlfriend, had a ton of work stress, and was constantly on my phone scrolling through news. One day, I was reading something about extreme sports and thought, what if I try something new? Like, I don't know, skydiving. It seemed like a dumb idea, but in that moment, I thought, why not? I found a nearby skydiving school and signed up. Of course, my friends started teasing me. Are you sure this is a good idea? They asked. I told them, yeah, I just need to get out of my comfort zone. So I picked a day and went. When I got there, I met the instructor, this guy who looked like he wasn't afraid of anything. Big beard, tattoos everywhere. He explained how everything would go, and I stood there thinking, this is going to be one of the weirdest things I've ever done. Then they asked us to put on the gear. I thought it was going to be simple, but then the problem started. I couldn't get my parachute on. It wasn't a small problem either. I tried twice, 3 times, and no one was helping me. Every time I tried to adjust the straps, something just wouldn't fit. Finally, I just thought, screw it, it'll work out. And then she walked in. Her name was Sarah, and she looked like she was born with a parachute on her back. She entered the room, and somehow she just instantly caught everyone's attention. It wasn't that she was some kind of supermodel, but there was this confidence about her that made her stand out. She looked at me, and then she said, do you need help with that? I was a little taken aback, but managed to say, yeah, I'm kind of struggling with these straps. And she just walked over to me. Without a word, she fixed it in one smooth motion. In that moment, I felt like my life was suddenly going in the right direction. It wasn't just the parachute anymore. It was like everything had clicked. "You're a first-timer, right?" she asked, and I said, "Yeah, this is my first time." I didn't think it'd be so difficult. She laughed and said, "Skydiving isn't the hard part. It's all in your head." Then she told me she was experienced, that she jumped over 100 times. That honestly shocked me, but I wasn't even thinking about the jump anymore. I was just thinking about her. As we were preparing for the jump, I got to talk to her a little more. Turns out she wasn't just a skydiver, she was a trainer. We laughed and chatted about life, and honestly, I felt like I was falling for her right there and there. The jump itself was insanely scary, but since I kept talking to her the whole time, I didn't feel as scared as I probably should have. When we landed, I was on a high. I didn't even care about the whole falling from the sky thing. My mind was just on how amazing Sarah was, how she guided me through it all, and how supportive she was. After we landed, she said, "Hey, you did pretty well. Let's grab a coffee in my tree." And of course I said yes. We went to a local cafe, and with every word, I found myself falling more and more for her. I don't know how it happened, but that day felt like it was meant to bring us together. So that's how we met. I wasn't planning on skydiving at all, but Sarah helped me with more than just that. She helped me find the love of my life. And if I hadn't signed up for that school and hadn't messed up my parachute straps, I might never have met her. Now, whenever I look at our wedding pictures or see her posts online, I think if it weren't for that stupid parachute, I would have never known what I was missing.